I know it's been some time since I sketched in general or showed you guys one of my sketches, mostly because it's cold outside and I don't feel like going there to sketch. So I've decided to do a late night sketching session. It's 11 p.m. and I'm not tired yet. So instead of just sketching in front of my computer, I wanted to take you guys along. I realized I never really showed you guys my techniques while sketching and what goes through my head, what my exact process is like. So I'm going to show you that, and I'm not sure if I'm able to multitask, so I'm going to do a voiceover. I can't talk and sketch or sketch while talking.
I start by searching up reference photos I want to sketch, mostly on Pinterest or sometimes some stock pictures. I try to pick photos and not other drawn pictures since it's better for recognizing things from reality. I mean, it would be even better to have real life references, but that's we don't have any, so that's what we're going with. Depending on what mood I'm in, I choose how loose and rough I want a sketch to be, because there are different approaches for that. Let's say I'm not quite focused right now. I haven't sketched in a while, maybe I don't even know what to sketch, what subject to pick. Let's call this the uncertain mood. That's when I solely rely on these reference pictures and pick a pen that makes it easy to sketch loose. What I mean by that is there are pens where you have to apply much pressure to get something out, and they're somehow drier, like the Faber-Castell ones. Ugh. But if you want to sketch quick and rough, the pen has to be juicy. That's how I call it. It has to be easy to draw a line. There has to be enough ink coming out. I'm currently trying these simple Uniball gel pens. Not quite sure what to think of them since I'm trying them for the first time, but it's truly different to my regular brush pen ones, and they make it so easy for a line to just, appear. To the point where you really have to think if you want to move your hand a certain way, because that's when the line is there and you can't do anything about it. As I look at my reference picture, I try to start with a border line or outline and little hints where the faces and edges of the clothes are, and then slowly fill them in with slight details and shadows. I try not to get lost in them and focus more on picking the right spot to add something. I have the feeling that I don't need to overwork sketches. I find such beauty on simple sketches that are so spot on the proportions, and when I see that everything was achieved with the first line a person drew, it's so impressive. They didn't even need to fix that later and have such a trained eye, and that's what I'm trying to practice here, although it's not perfect at this point, but the more I do that, the better I get. And I also try not to irritate myself with the mistakes that I do, because some proportions are just off in this picture, and there will be enough pictures where I also don't catch the right proportions or smear around or mess something else up. So I'm just trying to create this page and finish it and then move on to the next, no matter how many mistakes I did. That's even why I'm doing this type of uncertain mood sketches. That way I don't apply too much pressure on myself. I know what I'm here for, and sometimes it results in beautiful drawings I didn't expect to happen, which is nice. I also like filling these pages up as much as I can, adding a different color or overlap drawings to understand for myself that these are just sketches. I don't have to value them as much as I sometimes do, and when I scribble over them it helps me. Plus I think it looks kind of cool since you have so much to discover on one page. I have to say I'm currently not in the mood for watercolor. I don't know what happened, but after I finished my watercolor urban sketchbook from last year, I went over to my experimental phase, trying new supplies and different ways of coloring. For example, I never used different colored line art before, I think. I told you in the beginning about moods and feelings and how they make me choose my type of sketching technique, so I call the next one the zone sketch. Sometimes we don't feel exactly uncertain or unfocused, but rather just want to think less while sketching. Because the first sketching technique is a fearless but still thoughtful one. You have to think so much about what you see and what line to draw, while this technique is quite the opposite. I'm trying with this technique to get in the focused zone and get this feeling of not wanting to leave the sketch until it's finished. The way I'm doing it is by starting the same way, picking an object or a person to sketch and draw the outlines, preferably something huge, something with a lot going on. So the key here is to focus on filling them up entirely and as detailed as you like it to be. I'm using a more precise Pentel pen so I can go into the line art and really dig in, going line by line and making sure that I catch a lot of small details I would have ignored if this was my first sketch, until I finally get into the zone of not focusing on the outcome and the time just passes by. This is so relaxing and therapeutic and requires a different part of my brain that can relax more. So after filling it up, I look if some shadows or anything interesting can be added. And these type of sketches usually take a lot longer than the type of sketches before. I like using these two type of techniques to do before sketching something important or something that has to look good, because it's a great warming up technique in that order. It gets me loose and prepares me for my last technique if I want to do it that way. So last one here. I call this one the perfected sketch. It's like the best version of a sketch that you treat like an artwork, it's just located in a small sketchbook. For this one I usually start with an idea and not just a prepared reference picture. We're gonna use them a bit later. First I try to think of a theme or a feeling or something I want to provoke while looking at the sketch that I'm about to make. And then I start making a little thumbnail, either in the sketchbook itself or on a paper side, and try some compositions out for the idea. They can be rough and I alter the positions of the elements, trying to see what looks best, what works best for the design, and only then I try to look for some references. So I use it rather as a help for the picture than drawing just what I see. This is so much harder and takes longer for my creative brain part, but it's usually worth it in the end. I also have to say that this is something I only do when I have energy to do it, only when I feel comfortable, because it takes so much longer than the other methods. So in the last two sketches I was going directly in with a fine liner or a brush pen of some sort, and for this one I do a soft undersketch with a colored pencil. And then I go in with a steady fine liner and do a careful line art where I also add the shadows. I actually still like this stripy look for shading, so I'm gonna continue doing it. And before doing the details, I'm trying to think of colors and what to add, if I want to add something. I usually prefer muted color palettes, or at least limited ones, like maybe only 2 colors max, maybe 1. And then I continue with adding details to the spots I want to enhance. I'm also doing it intentionally. Sometimes it looks good when I leave out certain spots because it guides the eye to the more detailed parts. So yeah, this is how I structure my sketches.
Okay, these were the finished sketches, and tell me in the comments which one you like best, or if you guys have some new techniques I need to know, like I'd be glad to get some tips on that. That was it. Wish you guys a good night, and well, it's probably daytime for you, so I'm wishing myself a good night. I'm going to sleep now. Until next time. Bye.